Hello guys, David Bose here, just sitting here under the New Mexico skies. Still clouds in the sky, but it's beautiful, a lot of sunshine. Well, I want to start reading some more. Today I want to read, I was going to say it's so amazing, I'm so thrilled, I just can't wait to do this video today. And I think, man, we say that every day, but I thought yesterday's video was, like, we were just barely getting into it. But even in that 3 or 4 chapters we read, there was some pretty good stuff. Some stuff I think we need to hear. I don't think people have ever, in 2,000 years, understood the simple teachings of the Bible. And really, I think we got a good look at that and began to realize that it was pretty simple. And it's simple in this, that the whole thing is about this time that we're about to go through, the tribulation. And what we found out, I guess, the last couple of days is that we're going to be saved. That's what salvation is. That's what it is. Oh man, there's so many little intricate things I want to say about it, but we'll get to it, I guess. But now today we're going to learn something else, I think, completely flabbergasting. I mean, I can't top that we're all going to survive. Those who love the Lord and confess His name, and we don't have to be afraid. And it's really our deliverance. It's not the end of the world like we've been thinking. You know, the tribulation is coming to kill us all. But really the tribulation's upon Billy the gatekeeper and Bozo the clown and Elon the Eurolink maker or whatever he does. But even though it isn't as good news, it's not as good a news. Life, living, not dying is pretty good news. But this is some pretty good news. I mean, this is exciting for me anyway. Some of you might have been Star Trek fans, Star Wars. Yeah, I know, it's a worldly movie. But, you know, back in the 70s or whatever these movies came out, we watched movies. And they weren't so bad. I mean, hey, there was Waltons on television and Little House on the Prairie. And not everything was so bad, but I'm sure there was propaganda mixed with all of that. But Star Wars, Han Solo, and Luke Skywalker, and Leia, and all that, and Chewie, and I loved it. And way back before that, I used to watch Star Trek, the series. I know. I love Star Trek. And of course, now I realize some of that was propaganda and so forth. But still, I mean, it's hard not to be, I don't know. I guess some people don't like those kinds of movies, sci-fi and everything. But as far as I can tell, most people like that, and it's exciting. Why? Well, the idea that we can get in some kind of ship and sail across the skies in the universe and see galaxies and far beyond stars and come and visit other planets, and that's exciting. But is it even possible? Because I've been saying, you know, like there's these individuals like Elena Danan. Sorry. She's talking about this galactic federation, and I've been laughing and poo-pooing all that. Well, there is a galaxy. We do have a galaxy. We have a solar system. There are things. Some of this is real. I mean, I'm sure that angels, now we've said angels are glorified humans. Humans are the divine, made in the divine image, and there's no higher species. We are the crowning of the creation, but this human world, this mortal world, isn't the end. I mean, we're going to progress, but we're going to have telepathy and symbolic wings. We're going to be able to fly. We're going to be able to go places. But how do we get from place to place? We've talked about the wormholes. We've talked about all of that. And I've said that many of these craft that people are seeing, they're real, but I don't believe they're from other worlds. And the main reason why is because I believe that they're from the devil. Because if Jesus was here, he wouldn't just be hiding in the water somewhere under the earth, right? When Jesus comes back, he's going to receive us unto himself. So all these craft are not just some aliens from other planets that don't know Jesus. All of that's a big lie. And Lena Danan is teaching pedophilia and cross-dressing and stuff that just is horrid. So she's, as she says, the emissary of Enki, but she's not the Enki or the Enoch that is Jesus. She talks about the Sumerian tablets, and she's talking about this other one that we call Yahweh. And she talked about being saved in his blood and everything, but I shouldn't go into that anymore because we've done some of that. But what I want to get at here is that I'm not saying that human beings cannot be more advanced than we are. Human beings have certainly done things. We built vehicles. I love vehicles. I can't deny that I don't love my truck. I mean, this Sierra I've got, I love different vehicles. Like I used to have a Dodge 4-wheel drive Ram. I loved it. That was my second favorite truck I've ever owned. The one I have now is my favorite, the GMC Sierra. And it's just awesome, amazing. I mean, it's got air conditioning and heat and automatic windows that come up and down and windshield wiper. I mean, it's great. It's wonderful. You can drive 70 mile an hour down the road and watch the trees go by in the mountains, and you can see it all in a way that you could never see it just by hiking. So advancement it's intriguing, it's compelling. There's nothing, I mean, I can't deny that human beings did it, we can do it, that technology could exist, that we could build things. We build houses. We're not like, like little birds build nests and foxes have dens, but humans, what do? We build houses, right? We got brains. We compress sand together and make glass. Wow, this is huge plate glass windows. Because we want to see the view. We want to see the sunset. We want to enjoy the beauty, the wisdom, the grandeur, and yes, we like magnificent things. We like building our houses with large towers and bells on the top, and spirals and glass cities and stuff. So I don't doubt. I mean, the Bible itself says, well, Jerusalem was a city, and the Bible says we're going to rebuild the New Jerusalem, and there's going to be a New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven. It talks about in Revelation 21. Well, it says it's going to be a city. It's going to have 12 gates. It's going to be walls made out of emeralds and sapphires. Oh, man, that's better than glass. Oh, man, I mean, that's got to be some kind of contraption. I mean, you could say, well, it's all symbolic. Well, I'm going to read you some stuff today that'll blow your living mind. I do believe that Jesus is so far advanced and has some abilities to just shock your mind if you knew the truth about it. The city of Enoch, Enochic land, must have been a magnificent place. The pyramids are absolutely feats of engineering that today we can't even understand. And they were built by the Lord Jesus. These pyramids. Atlantis and all of the glorious cities, the city of Enoch is the city of Jesus. As we've been saying. Some of you might think, what is he talking about? Well, Enoch in the Bible is going to be the Messiah, he says in the book of Enoch. And we've said Enoch is this one who went to heaven and never died. This was Jesus, who reincarnated as Jesus. And in Egyptian, he's Thoth, and Greek, he's Hermes, and so forth. So, the truth is the truth. It's going to be in the other history books as well. And all the nations have this information. So there was a city in the Bible, the city of Enoch. Well, there were actually two cities of Enoch, one from Cain's line, one from the Lord, or from Seth. And so, we've talked about all of that. But my point here is that technology is not a bad thing. We're going to have cities, and this new heavenly Jerusalem that comes down. So we call it heavenly. Well, we're not going to live on a cloud, right? But somehow or other it's up in the clouds. And what does it mean Jesus is coming in the clouds? We've said it means the storm clouds. But there's something more. Why is there a storm coming anyway? Because Jesus is coming in judgment. And we're going to find here in Psalms as we read, like in Psalm 68. Oh, man, 68. I can't wait till we get to Psalm 68. I love it. You know, it's always going to tell you the colors of this ship that the Lord, or it calls it the tabernacle or the sukkot, the booth. Sometimes it's translated his pavilion, the covert that we're going to be hidden in. You know, the going into his the chambers, his inner chambers, until the indignation be past. We're going to go into a ship. Oh man, wait till you see this. He's coming to rescue us. Does that mean he lives on another planet? Well, we don't really know, but, you know, when Jesus was on the earth, he said, remember, I go away to prepare a place for you, that where I am you may be also. He says, in my Father's house, there are many mansions. Well, I think that's just code for worlds. There's many, you know, I don't think he's talking about little houses, you know, there are many little houses. His Father's house is the universe, and I think he's talking about many worlds. And he says, I go to prepare a place for you. Did he go to another planet, so he's going to take us to another planet? No, I believe the Bible tells us for at least 1,000 years we're going to be on this earth. His throne will be on this earth. He's coming back to receive us unto himself. But then this new city or this tabernacle is going to come down out of heaven to the earth. So I think it's going to be on the earth for at least 1,000 years, because it says we shall reign upon the earth for 1,000 years. And not, you know, then at other places we will reign forever and ever. I think perhaps then we will go and conquer the stars and the many worlds and multiply our Heavenly Father's family throughout the universe. So probably at some point at the end of the 1,000 years, we'll go on to other planets. Because we were asking the question the other day, well, somebody asked it, if Jesus died and was raised up and he still had his body, he says, touch me, a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as you see that I do. So he wasn't just spirit. And we talked about how the demons are spirits. They don't have a body. They can't incarnate. They're wandering spirits to whom is reserved the darkness and the blackness forever. They're not allowed to come back and enter into the 12 gates or the 12 months, into the creation, into the city. And we've said that the city represents creation. Well, as I've said, there's layers. There's layers. So there can be a literal hell. There's fire beneath the earth. There's pits under the earth. And then there's the great pit, right? The lower realms, the regions. What is it that he ascended, but he also descended to the lower regions of the earth? Where did Jesus descend? Like down inside the earth? I doubt it. I don't think so. I think he's talking about lower realms and dimensions, and he's going far above all heavens, exalted his throne. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to cover, and we're going to go quick because there's so much. I mean, it's like, I don't think you could ever understand this without putting it all together, because you could take one verse and go off on that, and you might be wrong unless you put it together and cross-reference. So what we were talking about is 68, Psalm 68. There it's going to tell you that the color of his ship. I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. It's covered in silver and gold, and it's got wings, and he's coming to rescue us. We'll get to that. We're not going to get to Psalm 68 today, but it's so beautiful I had to mention it, because it ties in with some of the things we are going to read today. When we get to Psalms, we're in Psalms, we're going to start reading with 11. I'm going to go quickly until we get to places where we got to digress, as we're doing now. But like Psalms 18, oh, buddy, talks about him descending and bending the heavens. We're going to find out some of these words, like he's coming on the clouds. Well, remember when Moses went up to Mount Horeb, and Jethro, and in the New World Translation says the mountain of the true God, G-O-D. Of course, I usually say the divine one, but they translated that because it's not just any L, but it's the Most High, the true and living deity. And that's his mountain, Horeb, the mountain of light. And so Jethro was the priest of the Most High. And Jethro showed Moses how to break it up into 50s, and, he gave him the higher priesthood, the Melchizedek, because Jethro had the Melchizedek priesthood. But then Moses made an appendage, which was this, after Israel sinned and they rejected the Lord, then they made the Aaronic priesthood. Why? Because the people demanded it. They said, don't let the Lord speak to us, but you go and speak to him and come back and tell us what he said. So there's a priesthood. Now so Moses his brother Aaron became the first of these priests, and this is the Aaronic priesthood. But it's a go-between. We don't need that. Now that particular Lord that's translated Yahweh in some of our Bibles today, we don't know if like I said, we don't have an original Hebrew. The only inspired translation we have is Septuagint, and it's all Lord in capital letters. So we don't know, but what we do know is the word Yahweh is I am, and Jesus said I am. But then there's this other I am. This is this angel. He says my name is in him too. Well, why is he an angel? Because the people rebelled and they refused. And they wanted judgment and justice and blah, 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 and the meat pots and the lusts of the flesh. And therefore, if they're going to start, hating one another and gossiping and accusing each other, they had to have law. They demanded it. So the avenger, the Apollyon, the destroyer. Paul talks about the destroyer, but it's not the same as the rock. By the way, the rock happened at Mount Horeb because Jesus was the rock, meaning that Jesus was there in the rock giving them water and grace, no matter what they ever did. But Horeb was first, and then Sinai. When Moses went up Mount Sinai, he came down with these carnal laws written on tablets of stone. But the word or the covenant that they got on Mount Horeb, of course, is the covenant of the new covenant. It's the original covenant. It's the covenant that Jesus gave us. He is the word or the sacred pronouncement of the Lord. But remember when they go up to Mount Horeb and the true deity, and he says, what is your name? Now in Genesis 3:16, this is where everybody says this is where we get this name Yahweh and the sacred and all this. Well, I do believe that right there is Jesus. He says, what is your name? Remember, now, the devil was there too, because it says there was an angel that was in the bush, and it was on fire. So at that point, that angel hadn't fallen yet. He hadn't become the accuser. The people in their hearts hadn't rejected the light yet. And that was the Lord. I am. And he says, what is your name? I am. That's my name. Don't wear it out. No, I'm kidding. So, and as we've said, most of the places in the Bible where Yahweh is there in our present Bibles, of course, this is just from the Masoretic scribes, but maybe what they did was put that name in there appropriately many times, but just didn't tell us that there was this other angel that had that name in him, the avenger, the destroyer that Paul talks about. It was not the rock. It was not Christ on Mount Horeb, but it was this other deity that came down on Mount Sinai and became the avenger, the vengeance that they demanded, whose name was Jealous, who said, I will not pardon your sins. I mean, our Lord Jesus himself said, because you rejected me, I'm sending mine angel, and my name is in him, and he will not pardon your sins. So, this is kind of another part of this whole thing that I don't want to get into much today. We got so many other things to talk about. I hope we get to the reading. We got so much to talk about. But yeah, we're going to have to understand this is a very difficult subject, and I don't know that I have understood it completely. Until recently, I'm beginning to really understand that Yahweh, or the I Am, I've always said Jesus was the I Am. Okay, but we haven't talked much about whether or not he was ever called Yahweh. But I think that the true Yahweh, his name that we see in Genesis 3:14, I am that I am, I think that's Jesus speaking. But where he says, my name is in him, that angel that fell, that the Apostle Paul says, the law covenant, the 613 laws of the Torah, was given by the administration of angels, and they are lower angels. The angel that will not pardon your sins. That's what the whole book of Torah is about, judgment. These are my judgments. These are my regulations. This is the punishment. You will die, right? So the testimony of the Torah is that we needed a Savior, and Moses spoke of Jesus. But, so, all the way through Psalms and the prophets, they were the prophets of, well, the school of the prophets was started by Elihu, who was a follower of Jesus, because he went up to Mount Horeb and found the still small voice. So most of the places in the Bible where we see Yahweh is probably speaking of Jesus. But in the Torah, we're shown this other Yahweh sometimes who says, my name is vengeance. But that's in where he's giving the law, the carnal commandments. He says, I am Yahweh, and that is my name. Now that's talking about the devil, or that angel of the Raphaim, of the dead, as we were saying. Oops, I didn't have the Bible open to Psalms 11. So I have changed, or when you think about it, I don't think I've changed my mind on anything. It's just that we never talked about Jesus having the name I am, but we never really spoke of it in the sense that if you were to say that in Hebrew, it would be Yahweh. And I don't think ever said that Genesis 3:14 or Exodus 3:14 was talking about Jesus specifically. This is kind of, it's been so hidden and so misunderstood for so long. And because of the Masoretic scribes and all of the misinformation by Jehovah's Witnesses and different things, it's been very difficult to figure this all out. And when we first start talking about the devil is, Yahweh's the devil and stuff, we base that on the fact that in the Torah, this particular Yahweh was vengeful and hateful. And that could not in any way be Jesus, because Jesus is love. But then when we read Psalms, we find all kinds of verses, like in Isaiah, it says, why are you doing this? Like, who told you to make these sacrifices? It doesn't sound like Yahweh would all of a sudden change his mind. So, it was very difficult to figure this out, how Yahweh could be this deity of vengeance, and then all of a sudden in Psalms, he's the Lord, right? But I think we're getting it. I think we're really beginning to perceive and understand the truth now. And it's certainly good that we're understanding it now, because I do believe we're about to go into tribulation. I think that's why the Holy Spirit is opening this up and giving us better understanding. So all the way through the book of Psalms where it says Yahweh, like I said, we don't know if every time it says Yahweh it actually ever did, because we don't have the original Hebrew. We have the Septuagint, which is the only inspired version, and it just says Kyrios, or Lord. But I do believe then, now, that it was on Mount Horeb that Moses said, what is your name? And he says, I am that I am. And it was from that place that if you see that they rejected him. And then he went up Mount Sinai. And most people think it's the same mountain, but I believe they think he went back up the second time, and all of a sudden now it's called Mount Sinai. And it's a different mountain, or at least it represents something different. Sinai means the moon. Horeb means orb, or light, the sun. And so when he went up to the reflective light, we have to understand then, like Paul says, the law is holy and good and just. Well, it is just for unjust ones, and the law was written for sinners. So the law isn't evil. It is simply vengeance and justice. But if we're going to be under that kind of justice, we're all going to die. And so the testimony of the law is that Jesus needed to come. And then we're under a new covenant, which is grace and mercy. Now, I got off into that because I wanted you to understand that, yes, we are kind of beginning to understand a little deeper here that when Yahweh came down in this, what's called a cloud. Now, it's interesting. It was a cloud by day that followed Israel and a fire by night, a pillar of fire. Well, fire would be more in keeping with judgment. And so perhaps the Yahweh that rules over the night, or the moon, right, the reflective light, not the true light, that light of every man that cometh into the world, that would be more of a fire or a lamp. But in the daytime, they were, with the lights out, daylight, they were, this cloud followed them. And it calls it a thick cloud. The interesting thing about that word thick, sometimes they write it dark cloud, but it really is like a big, thick cloud. And the word is ub in Hebrew, and it literally means a circular disc. I know, look it up. And when that circular disc followed them, it was also called a cloud, a nebula, a mass. The word cloud in the Hebrew, it just means a mass. A disc, a circular disc, or a mass. And it was that particular cloud that followed them that when Pharaoh's armies came after him, it turned dark, it turned night, and then it turned into a fire. And then it was this angel that was all of a sudden there again. Yahweh, this angel, or the destroyer. And it was the destroyer that just wiped out the armies of Pharaoh. So it's interesting, it turned to night and it went into the fire. And then it was just turned into this angel. But during the day, it was this cloud. Jesus said, I'm coming on the clouds. Yeah, the clouds are the storm clouds. But why? Because when Jesus comes, he's coming in judgment. Well, when this Yahweh, or I am, came down on the mountain, it says that it was a thick cloud and a disc. And there are places where in Psalms it describes it, in other places, but even there in Exodus it says that there was like a pavement of basalt or something, and the Lord was seated on a throne, and above him was a crystal, a sapphire or something. It sounds amazing. And we're going to find, like I said, wait till we get 68, Psalm 68, where it talks about the Lord comes with 20,000 chariots. What does it mean, 20,000 chariots? And remember, the word chariot there is sukkah, which is booth. Well, no, that word there is rekab, which does mean chariot. But in other places, it uses the word sukkah, or it'll say pavilion, or his tabernacle, which is where he's going to take us during the tribulation. But where this word pavilion, or the covert, we're going to be protected in this. There's one place where it says he drew us out of thick waters into his covert, or this tabernacle, some translations have it. The tabernacle in the sky, the city in the sky coming down from heaven, Well, and then it says, he brought me out of deep waters into this spacious place. Well, if you look in the literal Hebrew there, it literally means a big room. We're drawn out of the trouble of the tribulation. That's what it's literally talking about, is the day of the tribulation. And we're going to be taken out of the world and meet him in the air. And now I'm very confident that what that means is, because some verses that I'll show you, I don't know if we'll get to it today, but coming up in the next few days, we're going to start reading all of Psalms, and we'll get to it for sure if we don't get to it today, where we're taken out of the trouble into this spacious room, large room, in his tabernacle in the sky. Up on the top of a mountain, in a crag. Sometimes it says a crag, but that really means that this covert, or Sukkot, which translated, this is the festival of Sukkot, or the festival of booths. And maybe we were talking about yesterday how we're going to be protected in these booths. And it was prophesied and portrayed in the festival of booths, where we go in for 7 days. And I believe, and the Bible tells you now, once you understand that they're not giving you the correct words, but this word covert, pavilion, or tabernacle that's in the sky that we're going to be protected in is that inner room that we're going to be protected in until the indignation be past. I think the earth is going to be complete. I think there will be a war. If you ask me, I believe now I understand why the devil has been trying to create this technology. And he's got these amazing ships and this advanced technology that they're making. That the devil's making humans build factories and build these ships for them. And I believe that they're going to use these ships to try and battle Jesus when he comes. But of course, they're going to fail. If you think about it, if Jesus would have come back 100 years before, they wouldn't have had these ships. And Jesus could have taken the earth without, obviously there was a cloud that Jesus went up into. Like, beam me up, Scotty. There was a cloud in the days of Moses, or this ship that had this crystal dome and all of this chariots. That Elijah went up on a chariot of fire. So they had this technology. Jesus did. He says, I'm going to come back as you see me going into the clouds. And you're going to meet me in the clouds, right? In the air. So they had this technology. Why didn't he come before they built all this? 100 years ago. Well, probably because there's a certain particular time at the end of the age that the devil and the Lord had planned. It was the appointed time for him to return. And so the devil started years and years, maybe 1,000 years in advance, with the typewriter and this and that, and building technological things, and then the wheel, and getting us to a place, and all this orchestrated overpopulation, putting people in cities and stacking them up, because he needed lots of workers and factories to build these machines for him. We're out there mining gold. We don't even know why we're mining gold day and night. Where's all this gold going? All the silver and all the computers and all the money and everything. What are they using it for? They're building technological things that you cannot comprehend. They're not even showing us. They're going to tell you it's from some other planet or something. So some galactic federation, but it's really from Satan, who is living in quarantine in this area right here in this solar system. And when Jesus returns, they're going to have a war. It says there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels battled with the dragon and his angels. I do believe that's going to be literal. And we're going to meet him in the air. And Jesus is going to send down his arrows, it says, or his weapons. We'll read about that. And burn them with fire. It will be a day like no other. But we'll be hidden in his tabernacle in the sky. In a roomy place that he draws us out from the trouble. So we'll read about all of that. But let me start. I'm going to go real quick to see how, because we've already talked for like 30 minutes. But I want to try to read this real quick, because until we get to a place where I really want to stop and cross-reference a few things. But this will be easier because we've already kind of gotten the gist of this. This is all about our day, the Great Tribulation. And we're going to see how David puts himself there. Now, why would that? How would David have been here? He lived 2,000, 3,000 years ago. I believe David is saying, look, I am having these visions. And he puts himself in the first person singular sometimes, like as if he is the one there. As if he is Jesus. But it's odd because David wasn't crucified, and yet he says, I, David, this happened to me. That's interesting. But then he also says these things that he'll talk about things that happened to him, David, King David, that isn't in the days of Jesus, but is in this day. So there are 3 events. The days of David, which is just a type, that foreshadowed and prefigured the days of Jesus on the earth, which I believe we were all there, and where it talks about Jesus in the crucifixion. We can almost apply that to ourselves as well, because I believe we were all there. The 144,000. But the primary meaning of the book of Psalms and all the prophets is the last days that we're living in during the tribulation. And David puts himself there in the first person. So it says, in the Lord put I my trust. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? For lo, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Wow, this is not talking about David's day, okay? This is about our day. The righteous, we're all on the earth. We all must appear before the judgment seat of Christ. This is the judgment. The hour of his judgment has come. Fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come. The Lord is in his holy temple. Where is that? The Lord's throne is in heaven. Where is this heaven? Up in the sky? Well, literally, like I said, people were asking, where did Jesus go? He had a physical body. He hasn't been here for 2,000 years. Where he's not on the earth. Where'd he go? To heaven? We're sitting on a cloud somewhere? On another planet? Well, he went up into a cloud and he's coming back on a cloud. I don't know if he went to another planet, but I do believe he has a tabernacle in the sky. His throne is in heaven, and it'll describe it and give you the colors and tell you it has wings, and there's weapons, and it's crystal domes, and oh, wait till you see it. His eyes, behold, his eyelids try the children of men. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked, and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. See, he trieth the righteous. We have trials. He disciplines those whom he loves, but he hates the wicked. 6, upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire and brimstone. Really? Is this symbolic? It says the earth's going to burn up. Peter says that the elements being intensely hot shall melt. The heavens and the earth that are now reserved for fire. Brimstone. How is he going to rain down brimstone? There's no fire in the sky. I mean, it's possible that we could have hail, a big storm, or lightning. We've seen that before. We're talking about brimstone and fire, like the day of Sodom and Gomorrah. He's going to be describing the whole event from his pavilion or his tabernacle in the sky that's got a crystal dome and it's covered with gold and silver. We'll see all of this as we go. He's going to rain down fire and brimstone. But if he's going to do that, he's going to have to protect us. So we're going to be taken from amongst the trouble into an open room in the sky. Wait till you see this. This shall be the portion of their cup. For the righteous Lord loveth righteousness. His countenance doth behold the upright. Help, Lord, for the godly man ceaseth. For the godly man ceaseth. For the faithful fail from among the children of men. Among the children of men. And we're talking about the whole world. Right? All the children of men. There's no more good people. Or they're very, very few. That's our day. They speak vanity, one with his neighbor, with flattering lips and with a double heart they do speak. Sounds like our day. The Lord shall cut off all the flattering lips and the tongue that speaketh proud things. Who has said, with our tongue will we prevail? Our lips are our own. Who is Lord over us? Never in the history of man has there been such blasphemy among the children of men. And atheism and arrogance. Verse 5, for the oppression of the poor, that is certainly happening. For the sighing of the needy, that is certainly happening right now. Now will I arise, saith the Lord. I will set him in safety from him that puffeth at him. The words of the Lord are pure words, as silver tried in the furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord. Thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. What generation? From this generation we're living in now. But he's going to keep us, the saints, from this wicked generation. Yes, the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. And the vilest men have been exalted. Oh, Billy the gatekeeper. Yeah. How long will you forget me, O Lord, forever? How long will you hide thy face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long shall mine enemy be exalted over me? See, this sounds like, oh man, you know, maybe it's going to be kind of tough during the tribulation. You know, the way David's talking here. But I think what David's saying is that certainly not forever is the Lord going to let this iniquity happen, this evil. So when the tribulation comes, it's upon the evil ones. It's not upon us. And we're going to be protected from all the evil and things that are going on. But yes, the devil's been causing injustice and sorrow in everyone's heart daily for a long, long time. I don't think you should read into this that we're going to have to go through this too much longer. I think we're going to be delivered from this wrath. Consider and hear me, O Lord, my deity. Lighten mine eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. See, if you don't get enlightenment and know the truth and find the Lord and recognize the Christ, you'll sleep the sleep of death. Lest mine enemies say I prevailed against him. See, they might say that. The devil wants to say that. David's saying, please don't let that happen. Well, of course, it's not going to happen. I believe David may have been one of the incarnations of Jesus. And we're going to see here that David then didn't go to hell, but Jesus did. And so David is saying, look, I can see myself bearing this. This is a vision that David has. He says, it's like in another incarnation as Jesus Christ. We're going to be part of his body, and we're going to have to take up our cross and follow him, as we did. You know, the apostles, they were crucified as Jesus was. We've already gone through all of this. And verse 5, but I have trusted in thy mercy, and my heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. And that's something we all have to understand is written so that we will realize we need to follow Jesus' example and trust in the Lord and not be afraid. I will sing unto the Lord because he hath dealt bountifully with me. Psalm 14. The fool hath said in his heart, there is no deity. Yeah, Darwin and Nietzsche and all these guys are fools, right? Marx. They're corrupt. Yeah, they're corrupt too. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. Now this is interesting. Paul quotes this in the New Testament, saying that every one of us is under sin. Because he quotes this and says, none that doeth good. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand and seek the Lord. See, when is the Lord going to look down from heaven to see if there was anybody? Well, if we believe in reincarnation, then we're all here. He's given us all time, and we've had many incarnations, and we've learned, and we've grown. So, in the final classroom, surely, remember what Jesus said, when the Lord returns, when I return, shall I find faith on earth? Well, this is another way of saying that. The Lord's going to look down in the latter days, in the final classroom before the judgment, to see if there's anybody that would understand, who seeks the true Lord. Obviously, there will be some, and we're going to find out about those individuals. That's us. That's the saints. But not going to be too many. And it says, they are all gone aside. They're all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. See, even us Christians, we're not perfect. We've made a lot of mistakes. Except, like David, we cry out and ask for his mercy. We love the Lord. We get forgiveness. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge? Who eat up my people as they eat bread, and call not upon the Lord. There were they in great fear, for deity is in the generation of the righteous. Oh, so there's a generation of the righteous. Well, he's not saying that everybody's going to be righteous in that generation, but there's a generation of individuals where there will be a group of people that will be considered righteous, and only because they, like David says, called upon the Lord and said, Lord, save me. Ye have shamed the counsel of the poor, because the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Israel were come out of Zion. When the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people, Jacob shall rejoice and Israel shall be glad. So when he brings back the captivity of his people, that's going to be during this time of trouble. So I was hoping to get past chapter 22, 23. I was hoping to go to chapter 23 today, but I don't think we're going to make it. But I'm still hoping to at least get to chapter 18, because, oh, it's beautiful. I wish we could get all the way to chapter 23, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be covering, guys. It's going to be so beautiful. Please stay tuned for this series. So it says in verse 1 of 15, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? What do you suppose this tabernacle is? We've talked about the city representing the creation, the evildoers and the sorcerers and the unjust and the murderers being outside in the darkness, meaning they don't get to come into the creation. They don't get to be born through one of the gates. But that's the whole city. What is his tabernacle, his temple, his palace? Well, I'm going to show you, and I've already hinted to it. There are certain words, like quite a few times the word tabernacle is being translated from the word sukkah, which means a booth. And we're going to be celebrating the festival of booths, and we're going to be protected in the booth when the indignation goes by. I believe that the tabernacle, it will describe it here many times throughout the book of Psalms and Isaiah and Jeremiah, is in heaven. But where's heaven? Well, you might think, well, just some spiritual realm or something. But yet it's this tabernacle that comes down and destroys all the wicked in the day of judgment. And we're going to go to the tabernacle into the inner chamber until the indignation be past. Listen carefully as we read. There's something very interesting about this tabernacle. And who will abide there? Who shall dwell in the holy hill or the holy mountain? That's Mount Zion. Interesting, because you got to go up to the mountain to get into the air, and then you're changed, transfigured with Moses and Elijah. Well, remember, Elijah went on a fiery chariot, and Jesus said we're going to meet him in the air. Yeah, it's going to get really good. Watch. He that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness. See, this could apply to anybody at any time. There might have been good people in the days of Moses or whatever. But did they really literally get to go to the tabernacle? Well, maybe when they died or something. But I think this is talking about a specific time, and I know it, and we've proven it. This is talking about our day, the judgment. And so it's a specific time when all the world is here in the day of judgment and a time of trouble. And when he returns, will he find faith on earth? Well, here it is. Who's going to be in this holy mountain on Mount Zion, the 144,000? Who's going to get into the tabernacle that Psalms later on tells you it's at the top of the crag of the mountain, in this holy hill, in this pavilion or this booth, the sukkot? Well, those who walk uprightly. Okay? We're not cross-dressers. Okay, we may have all kinds of evil tendencies and so forth, but we've safeguarded our heart. We didn't fall into such egregious sin and practice sin. We make mistakes, but we don't practice it. We don't follow after, loose conduct and their drunken revelries. Yeah, he that walketh upright and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart. We're not perfect, but we speak the truth. We try. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up the reproach against his neighbor, in whose eyes a vile person is contemned, but he honoureth them that fear the Lord. He that sweareth to his own hurt and changeth not. He that putteth not out his money to usury. Well, that's interesting. You see, bankers are not going to inherit the kingdom. Investors, people like Elon that's got this thing he started like PayPal, and he's making a lot of money off of your back. The banks, like Warren Buffett, who owns Wells Fargo. It was the Rothschilds that started this usury. This is the banking system. Well, they're not going to make it into the tabernacle of the Most High. Nor taketh reward against the innocent. Who's taking rewards? Oh, well, it's just the way the world works, you know. Get your money and you know, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of people are dying from this thingy. But hey, we can't do anything about it. Might as well just invest in it. It's going to make a lot of money. Let's not say anything. We're making money. He that doeth these things shall never be moved. Preserve me, O deity, for in thee do I put my trust. O my soul, thou hast said unto the Lord, thou art my Lord, my goodness extendeth not to thee, but to the saints that are in the earth, and to the excellent in whom is all my delight. Their sorrows shall be multiplied that hasten after another deity. Their drink offerings of blood will I not offer, nor take up their names into my lips. For the Lord is the portion of mine inheritance, and of my cup thou maintainest my lot. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. Yea, I have a goodly heritage. I will bless the Lord who hath given me counsel. My reins also instruct me in the night seasons. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest in hope. You see, during the tribulation, when the cities are falling in ruins, and there's pandemics and famine and all this earthquakes and things that Jesus talked about, he says, not one hair of your head shall be harmed. He that has endured to the end shall be saved, or delivered from what? The wrath. Delivered from this wrath. And I'm certain there's going to be trials. Certainly. We've been through trials. But if we just stand firm in our faith and our integrity, they might throw us into the lion's den, but that lion's not going to eat us. We're going to be all right. For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell. Now, I don't believe this is saying that we're going to go to hell, but he's not going to leave us there. That any of the anointed 144,000 are going to actually die and go to hell. Remember, this is a type that David sees in a dream, and he sees two different stages. He talks about the crucifixion as we get to like chapter 22 and just a couple more chapters. And he described the crucifixion as though it's happening to him. I believe David in another incarnation is Jesus. But remember, all of the 144,000 were there in the first century, and they all got crucified and murdered and martyred. So we all went through this already. But we're not going to be left there or abandoned in hell. We came back and we're incarnated, and this coming tribulation, we're not going to have to go through this. We're going to have victory. So again, this is happening, all the events, to David, as though it's just happening to David. In the first person singular, it's happening to David. Like we said the other day, and we're all saved in Abraham's seed. Paul says, as of one, not of many, because that seed was Christ, and we're all in Christ. So all of this happens to us while we're in Christ, or in David's body. David went through the crucifixion. All the anointed went through the crucifixion. Peter was crucified. Paul was crucified. They all died horrible martyr deaths. So this happens to David. In the future, from this point where he's saying it, it happens to him as Christ and to all of his body, or the saints, the 144,000. So this is a prophecy that Jesus would die and go to hell. But he wouldn't stay in hell. He conquered hell. And so it goes on to say, and he will not allow his Holy One to see corruption. Verse 11, thou wilt show me the path of life. See, not death, not Hades. In thy presence is the fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. 17, O Lord, attend unto my cry. Give ear unto my prayer that goeth not out of feigned lips. Let my sentence come forth from thy presence. Let thine eyes behold the things that are equal. Thou hast proved mine heart. Thou hast visited me in the night. Okay, so our hearts have already been proved. We've already been tested. I don't necessarily think that means we're going to have to be tested during the tribulation. In a sense, like we're all going to be tortured and dipped in black tar and feathered. But not that it might not happen. I mean, Peter and James and John were thrown into prison. Paul was beaten. So, yeah, I'm sure some of us are going to be beaten and imprisoned. But not one hair of our head shall be harmed. Remember in the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and 3, it says it in two different ways. It says, for those who are faithful, I'll keep you from the hour of test. The hour of his judgment is arrived, the hour of test. So we're going to be kept from it. And then the other verse says, I will keep you from the 10 days of test or trial that is coming upon the entire world. So it is coming upon the world, this 10 days or the complete test. See, trial, testing means tribulation, the great tribulation. So we'll be kept from the great tribulation. But the great multitude, they have gone through or come out of great tribulation and washed the robes in the blood of the Lamb. But it will not come upon us. Why? Because we're the 144,000. And you see, Jesus died once for all. He already died and suffered and went to hell. He ain't going to do it again. And all of us, his body members, we all were crucified and died, and we did it willingly. We followed him. We took up our cross and followed him. And so he prepared us when he was on the earth. We were his disciples. You know, the 5,000 that he fed and the 7,000. That's 12,000. It's a symbol of the fact that he discipled all of the 144,000 and prepared us. And we went through that trial already. Now, see, those who refused and who begged off, they're going to end up having to go through it because they have to learn these lessons that they're going to learn through the trial. Now, doesn't mean they're not going to be saved. They're going to go through this and have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. They'll be standing around his throne with white robes. But we who have followed the Lamb wherever he goes, right? We are the ones who willingly was his bride, his 144,000. We're not going to do this again. During the tribulation, we're going to be protected in his pavilion, in the covert, in the booth, until the storm and the indignation is past. And he will visit us in the night. Thou hast tried me, and shalt find nothing. I am purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. So it's his mouth that doesn't transgress. I mean, we've all made mistakes, but we know and we confess Jesus. Concerning the works of men, by the word of thy lips, I have kept me from the paths of the destroyer. Hold up my goings in thy paths, that my footsteps slip not. Yeah, could slip. We can make mistakes, but we're asking the Lord to keep us on the right path. I've called upon thee, for thou wilt hear me, O deity. Incline thine ear unto me, and hear my speech. That's going to be the ones that are going to be delivered. The ones who's constantly praying to the Lord, help me, I love you, oh, please, Lord. And they give glory unto the Lord, and they believe in the Lord, and they trust in the Lord. Show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by thy right hand them which put their trust in thee from those that rise up against them. Keep me as the apple of the eye. You know, when somebody touches the apple of your eye, it's like, boom. You don't know, you immediately have a reaction to that. Like, you're not going to let anything get into the apple of your eye. And we're like the apple of the Lord's eye. He's not going to let anything touch us. Nothing. Not one hair of your head will be harmed. Because we've already been judged. This is the day of judgment, where the punishment will come down on those who deserve it. We don't deserve it. So, hide me under the shadow of thy wings. Now, what is the wings? Remember we said that some of you thought, well, I don't know what you're talking about, Jesus being a phoenix bird. Well, that's got the wings. So that is definitely a symbol. Jesus does have wings. It's certainly symbolic. from the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. Yeah, we're going to have enemies compassing us about. Don't think you're not going to have to be tested. But if you have faithfulness, it'll be all right. They are enclosed in their own fat. With their mouth they speak proudly. They have now compassed us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in the secret places. That's what it's going to feel like. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. From men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with the hid treasures. They are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. As for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I will be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. Remember what the apostles say, is that we don't know what we'll be like, but when we see him, we will see him as he is, and we will be like him. I believe we're transformed, changed, when we go up to that mountain. And at the top of that mountain, it says he's going to bring us into his interior room of his tabernacle. And the indignation, until the indignation be past. I believe we're going to be there and be protected above the earth while he brings fire and sulfur down upon the world and destroys the devil and his armies. And all those who refuse to believe in the Lord. But when we get there, we're going to be changed in a moment, and we'll be like him, and we'll awake with his likeness. Isn't that beautiful? Now here's chapter 18, and I think this will be the last chapter we'll do today. A psalm of David, the servant of the Lord, who spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand of his enemies. Now, what day? Well, you might think this is the day that literally David was on the earth about 3,000 years ago, and he was fighting, right? Because it says right here, from the hand of his enemies and from the hand of Saul. So that was 3,000 years ago. But this is only a type. And he said, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress, and my deliverer, my deity, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. Well, that could still apply to David 3,000 years ago. But wait a minute, he's talking in the first person. He says it's happening to David. I believe this was another incarnation of Jesus, and Jesus, or David, was remembering when he would come back to the earth, or foreseeing a future event. You know this has happened, where things that happened to Elihu. And he says, you will come and return. And Jesus said, yeah, Elijah did return. And it's John the Baptist. So I believe that Jesus was another incarnation of King David. And that's why David says, he wrote these Psalms and expresses this as though it happened to him in the first person, because it did. And so Jesus, well, David didn't die on a cross, King David. He wasn't crucified, but he says in this poem, he says he was. He remembers being Jesus. He says, the sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me. Who went to hell? Jesus did. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon the Lord, and I cried unto my Lord, and he heard my voice out of his temple. And my cry came before him even into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. Now where is he? He's in our day. The Lord's going to be in his temple when the earth will shake. This is the judgment. The shaking of the earth is an event, a war against Satan and the battle of Armageddon. And my cry came before him even into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled, and the foundations of the hills moved, and they were shaken because he was wroth. Remember what Jesus says, that there will be earthquakes in one place after another? And then you'll see the sign of the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven. Why is he coming from the clouds? He went up into the clouds like a beam, like, beam me up, Scotty. And now he says, why are you men gazing into the sky? This man, Jesus, will return in the same manner in which you saw him go. He's coming on the clouds. And this cloud followed Israel by day and by night. and had a crystal dome. And yeah, we could read the whole description, which we will here at some point. It says, there went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth, and devoured. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also, and came down, and darkness was under his feet. Yeah, whatever this thing is in heaven, it comes to the earth. It comes down to the earth. And he rode upon a cherub, and he did fly, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place, his pavilion. That's that word sukkot, the booth, a hiding place for us. Round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies, and the brightness that was before him and his thick clouds passed, hailstones and coals of fire. And the Lord also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice, hailstones and coals of fire. Remember, the earth's going to burn up literally, as it was in the days of Noah. The earth is reserved for fire. He sent out his arrows and scattered them, and he shot out lightnings and discomforted them. Then the channels of waters were seen, and the foundations of the world were discovered at thy rebuke, O Lord, at the blast of the breath of thy nostrils. He sent from above, he took me. This is the rapture you've been hearing about, guys. He drew me out of many waters. David says, me, first person singular. I, David, I'm there. I was there. I was at the crucifixion too. So were y'all. And now we're here. And this is a different event, because in this time, the earth is going to shake. And all the wicked are going to be punished. And he's going to deliver us. And he's going to send for us from above. He's going to take us and draw us out of many waters. And he delivered me from the strong enemy and from them which hated us. Because we're the body of David, the body of Christ. For they were too strong for me in our fleshly, mortal self. We couldn't fight them. They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my stay. He brought me forth also into a large place, or a large room, is how that should be translated. He delivered me. Remember, we're going to be delivered from the wrath to come, because he delighted in me. The Lord rewarded me. The reward is the day that is what we get at the day of judgment, because we believe in him. We followed him because he loves us. According to the cleanness of my hands hath he recompensed me. This is the recompense, both of the righteous and the wicked. The Apostle Paul in Romans says that every man shall receive recompense for what he did in the flesh. For I have kept the ways of the Lord. I have not wickedly departed from my deity. For all his judgments were before me, and I did not put away his statutes from me. I was also upright before him, and I kept myself from mine iniquity. Therefore hath the Lord, it's Jesus, recompensed me according to my righteousness. Remember, it's his righteousness. But he counts it as righteousness that we have faith. According to the cleanness of my hands in his eyesight. With the merciful thou wilt show thyself merciful. With the upright man thou wilt show thyself upright. With the pure thou wilt show thyself pure. And with the froward thou wilt show thyself froward. For thou wilt save the afflicted people, but will bring down high looks. For thou wilt light my candle. The Lord my deity will enlighten my darkness. For by thee I have run through a troop, an army. And by my deity I have leaped over a wall. As for the Lord, he is perfect in his ways. The word of the Lord is tried. He is a buckler to all those that trust in him. For who is the deity save the Lord? Or who is a rock save the deity, our deity? It is deity that girdeth me with strength, that maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me on high places. That's Mount Zion. He teacheth my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by my arms. Okay, here's where, remember David, this is the Lord teaches my hands for warfare. I think he's talking about spiritual warfare. That's what this is talking about. Because it says we're going to come on armies following the Lord. We're going to be in that ship, whatever that is, and the arrows that we're going to be sending out. And we'll read in chapter 68, he comes with 20,000 chariots. Thou hast also given me the shield of thy salvation. Oh, remember what the New Testament says? We have the shield of salvation. That's our weapons. Not the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they are spiritual. We have the shield of salvation. We have the sword of the Spirit and all of this. And thy right hand hath holden me up, and my gentleness hath made me great. It's your gentleness that makes you great. Thou hast enlarged my steps under me, that my feet did not slip. I have pursued mine enemies and overtaken them. David's going to do this, who is prefiguring Christ. But remember, Christ has a body. We're going to meet him in the air. Neither did I turn again till they were consumed. I have wounded them that they were not able to rise. They are fallen under my feet. We're going to fight this battle with truth, with the Spirit of the Lord, with love. For thou hast girded me with strength unto the battle. I think the battle here is going to be a spiritual battle. But I do not rule out that when we go and meet the Lord in the air, that he will have to literally use some sort of firepower to destroy the devil and his advanced technology that they've been using and building with our help in these factories. Thou hast also given me the necks of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me. They cried, but there was none to save them, even unto the Lord, but he answereth them not. Then did I beat them small as the dust before the wind. I did cast them out as the dirt in the streets. Thou hast delivered me from the strivings of the people, and thou hast made me the head of the nations. A people whom I have not known shall serve me. As soon as they hear of me, that's Jesus, they shall obey me. The strangers shall submit themselves unto me. The strangers shall fade away and be afraid out of their close places. The Lord liveth, and blessed be my rock. And let the Lord, the deity of my salvation, be exalted. It is deity that avengeth me, and subdueth the people under me. He delivereth me from mine enemies. Thou liftest me up above those that rise against me. Thou hast delivered me from the violent man. Therefore will I give thanks unto thee, O Lord, among the heathen, the nations, and sing praises unto thy name. Great deliverance giveth he to his king, and showeth mercy to his anointed one, to David, and to his seed, which is all his children, forevermore. I'm going to go ahead and go. Hope you have a wonderful day, guys. Oh, stay tuned for the upcoming videos when we really get into this. It's going to be great. We're getting into chapter 22, and then we'll be going along. Oh, man, it's going to be great. See you tomorrow, guys. Have a good one.